Welcome, everyone. My name is Jacob. Thank you for joining me. This is Hunt Detail, and today is Wednesday, January 8th. Hope you are having a great season. Hope you're filling tags, having fun. Obviously, things are really starting to ramp down, unfortunately, but the Archery Trade Association meeting is taking place this week, the 8th, 9th, and 10th in Indianapolis, and I will be there in attendance. Obviously, I'm pre-recording this, but I'm really excited about a couple things. One, as I look at the exhibitors, I see a lot of companies that I interacted with last year. I see some companies that are new from an exhibitor standpoint, and I see some companies that are not on the list of exhibitors that were there last year. So it's always interesting to see, and we'll talk more about that. I think the thing that I like most about the ATA, or if I've gone to any other sort of event that is around hunting, maybe it's a hunting fishing show that's for the general public, maybe it's the going to TAC, which I plan on doing TAC this year. Maybe it's uh, going to, when I actually in September, I was in Las Vegas and I stopped by the Go Hunt headquarters. If you're familiar with Go Hunt, great company. If you're not, I would encourage you to check them out. But when I stopped by that headquarters, I got a chance to talk to them, a bunch of the guys there. I mean, these are people that care deeply and passionately about the outdoors and hunting and conservation and gear, of course. And that's what I like about the ATA is that I get a chance to connect with other bow hunters and look at new products that are coming out potentially, or just understand the direction of the companies. It's obviously a very competitive marketplace. I like the business side of these sort of things, at least from my outsider perspective. And so I'm really looking forward to it. Now, I'll definitely be bringing you content here on this podcast and video content on the Hunt Detail YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, there's some content from last year's ATA in St. Louis. I had 3 different videos there, part of which were like the tree sticks, uh, sticks, I guess, were climbing sticks, were launched really there. And I'm sure there'll be something like that comes out of this ATA that's sort of innovative or new or exciting. It gets us thinking about this upcoming season in 2025. And so I'll be bringing that to you in the podcast, but also in video form. And the podcast obviously is different than the video, but if you obviously subscribe, download both, go to the Hunt Detail YouTube channel. There's a lot of great content there. But one of the things, sort of the inverse of interacting with folks like at the ATA, the inverse of that is interacting with somebody that's an anti-hunter. And through social media, I had a chance to, over the past few months, interact with somebody that is clearly anti-hunting. And it's a little bit like having someone spit on you and tell you it's raining. And I'm really a pretty chill, easygoing. I'm very intense as it relates to details or analytics or whatever at times, but when it comes to people's personal choices, I'm pretty easygoing. And but this person, they really challenged me on the concept of, is hunting conservation? And they are very confident in the way that they communicate that it's not conservation. And it really got me thinking. I was like, how well do I understand that phrase? Do I understand it to be true? Do I understand it on a nuanced, granular level within the context of all of the dollars that go into conservation here in the United States? And I could honestly say I didn't know all of the nuance to it. And I wanted to understand that because I don't want to be bullied or pushed around or I don't like someone sharing misinformation as he was. And so I'm very appreciative of someone like that because they challenge you on your sort of belief system or value structure. And that's not a bad thing, quite honestly. If you have a particular faith, if you have other things that are important to you, when someone comes along and challenges you, it's not a bad thing. It shouldn't be an emotional response, it should be, huh, you might have a point. Let me investigate. And so that's what I've done. And if you subscribe to the Hunt Detail YouTube channel, you'll see that I launched a video called Lies That an Anti-Hunter Told Me. And the first one of this series is on hunting is not conservation, is what he phrases, right? And I go really deep on a very granular level, I believe, on a lot of what he said, and also a paper that he shared with me. And I would encourage you to check the video out so that if and when you're challenged, or even if you're not, you understand how that phrase is true, even when you're telling someone that's a non-hunter but that has no qualms with hunting. You can say it with a highest level of confidence. I'm going to eventually release the audio on this podcast. It'll be after the ATA, and I plan on doing a series of other lies that an anti-hunter told me. And I won't get into those particular topics today, but there will be a series. And again, it'll be a function of my deep dive on the data, on the data that we understand currently about particular topics, whether it's from peer-reviewed published journals or published articles or published studies, or other statistics that are factual. And because I really, again, I don't like the idea of someone going out there and spreading misinformation and me not being able to counter that. And so uh, it hit a personal chord with me. And I know a lot of times when I see a podcast about conservation or, um, you know, some sort of political thing related to hunting, I sort of check out because I love to hear more things about gear or tactics or hunting new states or something like that. But I would really do want to encourage you to tune in for this series either on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. But enough about that. I did want to cover off on some of the exhibitors, and I made a list here that I'm interested in connecting with at the ATA show. Now, I see that Latitude will be there. I really like the Latitude guys. I see Cruiser. They were very generous with their time last year. Um, the Tree Sticks now has a booth. So it'll be interesting if the gentleman that owns Tree Sticks will have something new. I think, yeah, I won't even speculate, but that'll be interesting to talk with him. I did have someone reach out to me, I don't know, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, from Striver Gear, and he wanted me to do a video on his bino harness, and I did. And he was trying to, have me do the video and give me the product. I mailed the product back. I thought it was relatively innovative, the bino harness, but he'll be there, and I'd love to chat with him a little bit more about his bino harness. It just wasn't for me particularly, but I do see a space in it in the marketplace if you're a Western hunter or even a saddle hunter. If you want to check it out, basically the harness, the bino bucket disconnects from the harness itself. So if you're climbing a tree, you have the harness on, but it's the bino bucket separates, and there's potentially another way you could attach it to your saddle or something until you're up in the tree. Or if you're in you Western hunt, you could lay down prone and remove that bino bucket so the binos are not sort of pushing into your chest, if you will. And that's sort of the innovative twist there with the harness that Striver Gear is often offering. I did a video on, and I've talked about it here, on cell cams for 2024, and one of the companies I didn't include were Cuddyback. And I know Cuddyback has a type of cell cam or a cam system where it's like a hub and spokes, where you have one camera that is sort of the hub, and then you have all these other cameras that are spokes. And it's not, I don't know if it uses cellular technology or not, but it's definitely different. And I'm kind of interested in talking with them about what they're doing, because obviously the market is moving in such a way. And where does the Cuddyback system sort of fit in that market? Is it more for landowners that are, private landowners, or are they revolving themselves? So I think that will be interesting. Numa is an outdoor clothing company. I don't believe they were there last year. I am interested in their gear. I did do a review on their heated vest that's on the Hunt Detail YouTube channel. Please check that out. I think I did a really nice job with that. It's only like a 5-minute video, but I used it in the field, and I used it doing a sort of a temperature test of where my core temperature dropped to a certain level. Then I turned it on, and I wanted to see what my core temperature would get to once I had that on for about 4 minutes, and it performed very well. Tethered will be there. New is Phelps Game Calls. I believe they're new to ATA. I don't remember them being there last year. I look forward to connecting with those guys. Buzzard Roost Saddles, they're going to be there, and I don't think that they were there either last year. And I think that they've made a really strong saddle, and their 2-panel saddle, and the way that they have their bridge. I think that that's a really strong product. I've never used it, but just from the analysis from a spec standpoint and from what I hear and see online, they seem like they have a really strong product there. I don't believe Out on a Limb has ever been to the ATA, or at least I know they weren't there last year. I shouldn't say ever, but that'll be interesting to see them. There's a company called Ballista that makes these. They're not crossbows per se. They're more like pistol crossbows. And I don't know what it is, but I'm fascinated by those things. And I could see where if I was going to hunt a piece of, let's say, a small piece of private land, and I got permission. I want to be clear, you get permission, but you don't want to draw attention to the fact that you're hunting. And you want to be able to carry something in a backpack, all your stuff in a backpack. Maybe it just looks like you're hiking. Maybe you're in an area that has a lot of high traffic and you don't want to carry a bow. These ballista devices, I believe they're legal. I could see a strong value there if I was somebody that was hunting in a neighborhood or something, and I didn't want to draw a lot of attention to myself. Just wear a saddle, have a backpack, and have one of these ballista crossbow things. I think that would, I think that'd be pretty slick. Now, I'm pretty sure that Hunt Arsenal wasn't there at the ATA show last year. I really want to connect with them and chat with them. I think they have some really strong products there, and I'm excited to meet and greet with them. And G5, obviously they have a lot of products with the I believe the Mega Meat is a G5 product. I could be wrong on that, but I have written them down. Now, I didn't see XOP on the exhibitor list. They might be there, and I just missed them. Or maybe they might be under a different parent company. There's always that sort of thing. I didn't see Trophy Line. And last year, Trophy Line was there with their Magnite sticks and platform, and they won an award for that. But I don't see them on the exhibitor list. And maybe that's strategic on their part. They're like, we spent a lot of dollars in marketing and promotion last year, and they're still gonna. They're not gonna have if they had anything innovative at this year, it would be a lot, I would imagine, to commit to, especially when you have these sticks and platform that they launched last year. So maybe it's a very strategic move on their part to just sort of stand out, sit on the sidelines this year. I believe Novix will be there. At first, I didn't see them, but then it looks like they're underneath a different parent company name. Now, from a bow standpoint, Bear Archery will be there, PSE, Expedition, and that's it. So no Matthews, no Hoyt, no Elite, no Bowtech, no Prime. I remember hearing a lot of noise about Darton bows a couple years ago, and I think there's another bow company out there that's real small but I don't Darton's not going to be there. I don't I know it's a very tough tough market, I would imagine, with Matthews and Hoyt sort of being at the top there. But the what I would expect this year from innovation, I feel like when I looked at the climbing sticks, I feel like companies like Hunting Beast, for example, should be coming out with something, a new iteration of climbing sticks. I would love to. Not that they're going to be at ATA. I don't think that Beast Gear would ever be at ATA, and I don't know if you know, I don't know if they've ever been. Maybe they have, but ultimately, I think that it would be a good timing for them to launch something new from a stick standpoint. Now, I would say the same for Timber Ninja. As I looked at those sticks, I thought, there's a real opportunity there for them to evolve those sticks. And I don't know if they've ever been at the ATA. I don't expect them to be. I didn't. They weren't. I don't think they were there last year. But I think, as just from a product standpoint of seeing new things, new innovations as we go into the 2025 season, those are some things that I would expect to see from those companies. And this is just, these are just notes that I've written down. I have no idea what the other like saddle mobile hunting companies will bring. Like I know Latitude, I think it was about a year ago when they acquired or pulled in the other gentleman that made the TX5 saddle. I could be way off on that, but it was about a year ago, and I know they brought him in maybe for their creation of their pack. I think it's the Ranger 22, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what comes out. I know there's a lot of talk about ATA isn't what it used to be, right? It was pre-COVID. It used to be a really big deal, and everybody was there, and I guess all the bow companies were there, and I get that, but that doesn't mean there's not opportunity for growth in business from these other companies. When you look at the layout of the exhibitors, I mean, Bear Archery is got a huge space, and maybe they're never going to be a Hoyt or a Matthews, but they can take a bit of market share maybe from some of these others they can take market share from PSC. Now I know PSC will be there, but there's a percent of market share that Bear could maybe take away from an Elite or a Bowtech because those companies aren't there as far as I know. So there's always opportunity regardless of the ATA being not what it used to be. And I'm okay with that because I think, again, like you saw with Tree Sticks last year when they came to the market with their product, obviously they went to other consumer based shows, but they came to the ATA and launched those sticks. And I am guessing that he did very well with those, and it was seemed to be a very successful launch. Now with one of the companies I haven't mentioned, Ape Canyon Outfitters, I think is a saddle mobile hunting company that I've seen a little bit more about. It'll be interesting to see what they bring to the show, and hope to connect with them. But like I said, I'm really excited that there's. I'm going to try to do a little bit more homework as I go in. I felt like last year I was I interacted with, gosh, I don't know, a ton of companies, but I don't think I had a really strong like pre-plan uh, of who I wanted to connect with first or whatever. I really didn't look at the exhibitor list too terribly, and so I want to have some. I want to maximize my time again, so I can see what's out there, but also share that with you in an effective way. So, if there's any companies that you want to know about or are interested in, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Hunt Detail. Like, go to Hunt Detail on Instagram, give me a follow, message me, say, hey, Jacob, can you see what this company's bringing to the market? I noticed like Moultrie's not going to be there. At least maybe they are. Maybe they're underneath of a larger parent company. Actually, that's probably the case. I shouldn't have said that. They're probably underneath some larger parent company. But yeah, just let me know if there's a particular company that you might be interested that you think's going to be there. It doesn't have to be. Maybe they're not going to be there. I'll let you know. But just feel free to reach out. And again, keep an eye out for some of that content. As soon as I record it this week, I'm going to try to quickly turn it around, maybe like that evening. So it's like it would hit the Hunt Detail YouTube channel Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like that would be the time frame. I'm not going to hold on to it from a YouTube standpoint. And then next Wednesday, I'll start sharing some of the things that I guess it would be next Wednesday, the 15th. I'll start sharing some of what my experiences were like. So, but my intent is to get you all that information because I remember when I was outside of the ATA and not able to go, I was craving the content to see like what's new, what's interesting, what's happening because I wanted to be there, quite honestly. So anyways, thank you all for your time and support. Please give me a 5 stars on iTunes, and we'll talk again next week. All the best.